Bear Grylls is that real-life hero we all grew up watching, doing such daring and crazy things that would send chills down our spines. Things we couldn't even imagine doing in our wildest dreams. And yet, he did them, thanks to his strong mindset. But did you know that Bear Grylls wasn't always like this? The man who appears fearless and strong on the outside was once weak, scared, anxious, and battling depression on the inside. In his autobiography, Mud, Sweat, and Tears, Bear writes, "Fear forces you to appear tough on the outside, but it makes you weak and vulnerable on the inside." Bear's biggest fear? Heights, what we call acrophobia. But ironically, just a few years later, every episode of his show started with him jumping from a helicopter from great heights. He was once part of the UK's Elite Special Forces, SAS, where he got plenty of parachuting experience and had jumped out of planes many times. But in 1996, when he was just 21, he was on a mission in Zambia and jumped from 16,000 feet. That day, his parachute didn't open properly. He pulled it at the right time, but he kept falling rapidly. When he looked up, he realized the chute had only partially opened. In a panic, he kept tugging on the cords, trying to get it to open fully. He ended up crashing through trees and landing on his back with a brutal thud. Darkness took over. He was conscious, but he couldn't move. The pain was so intense that he began to cry, loudly, just lying there, hoping his team would come and rescue him. He says the pain was so unbearable, he'd have preferred death, but even death didn't come. Eventually, his team took him to a hospital in Africa. He still remembers the doctor injecting his spine and the pain slowly easing. He started to believe he was getting better and even tried to move. But then the doctor came in and told him he might never walk again. That shattered his world. His x-rays showed that he had broken 3 of the strongest bones in the human spine, T8, T10, and T12, completely crushed. The young man who used to climb mountains couldn't even walk to the bathroom. He says the fall didn't hurt as much as the long, painful recovery that followed. He spent a year in a hospital bed, where he began to spiral into depression. Nights became sleepless. He'd sweat from anxiety. His breathing would get heavy, and he'd feel nothing but regret, pity, and hatred toward himself. 2 months in, there was no improvement, only worsening pain and stiffness. His mind grew darker. To everyone else, Bear Grylls seemed like a positive, mentally tough guy, someone who'd bounce back with courage. But inside, he was terrified and lost. One night, lying in bed, he noticed a dusty photo frame across the room. It was a picture of Mount Everest. Bear and his father had always dreamed of climbing it. Seeing it covered in dust felt like his dreams had been buried too. No one was with him that night. He got up using crutches, walked to that photo frame, wiped the dust, and went back to bed thinking, how can I find the strength to live again? That moment planted a deep seed in his subconscious. It gave him hope and a reason to fight. The next morning, he remembered something his grandmother used to say. Bear, whatever happens in life is for the best. Humans are the ones who find reasons to stay sad and hurt. Whenever you face trouble, remind yourself, whatever is happening is God's will, and God never does anything wrong. That day, he truly understood and felt the meaning behind her words. He realized he could have died in that accident, but he survived, which meant God still had a plan for him. This gave him peace. He stopped obsessing over whether he'd walk again or return to the special forces. He stopped overthinking. His mind calmed, and the negativity began to fade. He started healing his mind first, and once his mindset got stronger, his body began to heal too. His bones started to mend faster. He remembered something his close friend Ed Ainsworth once told him. Often God's calling comes in 3 phases: birth, death, and then rebirth. This injury is your rebirth. You're like a newborn now, with no past regrets or future worries, just grateful to be alive. Bear says, life rarely gives you a second chance, but when it does, be deeply grateful. And he was. Grateful for life, grateful for his broken back, grateful for his dreams. He picked up that Mount Everest photo again and said out loud, as soon as I'm healed, I'm going to climb this mountain. That goal gave him a new purpose. Before that, he had no reason to live, but even while lying in bed, unable to walk, he made himself a promise. I will climb Everest. When he told people this, they ignored him. But Bear's goal was crystal clear. Now his body and mind had a shared mission to work on. 3 months after the accident, the pain began to ease. After 8 months, he was discharged. Within a year, he was fully recovered. Doctors warned him he could no longer return to the special forces. He had no job and no money. But to chase his dream, he needed $2.5 million, about 30,000 USD, for training, equipment, and the Everest expedition. So he wrote proposals to 250 companies for sponsorship. He was rejected by every single one. Still, he didn't give up. Knocked on door after door, faced rejection after rejection. Eventually, the SAS Regimental Association came forward to support his dream. 18 months after the parachuting accident in May 1998, Bear Grylls finally made his childhood dream come true. His journey to summit Everest is a whole story in itself. It wasn't easy. 4 members of his team lost their lives. He had 2 near-death experiences himself. But still, at age 23, Bear Grylls became the youngest Briton to summit Mount Everest. At the time, his story went viral. People began inviting him as a motivational speaker. Documentaries were made on his journey, and eventually, Discovery Channel gave him the opportunity that made him a global icon. That's when the world met Bear Grylls, the star of Man vs. Wild. And maybe that's where you first saw him too. So, if you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss future videos.